A California mother who had faked her own kidnapping says the shame she feels like a life sentence. She's already been punished enough. This is the story of Sherri Papini. If that name sounds slightly familiar, she was all the rage for a hot minute when she was missing. It turns out that she faked her own kidnapping. She was sentenced today, incidentally, to 18 months of prison, which was more than the prosecutors had recommended. I guess the judge felt a little bit irritated. So we're going to read this article from a couple days ago, which was discussing her plea deal. But she got 18 months today. So let's go ahead and read this story. Here is a picture of Sherri Papini. In case you had forgotten the name, that's what she looked like. Okay, I guess still looks like technically because she's still alive, because it was all fake. The California woman who was awaiting punishment, it's 18 months, for faking her kidnapping in an admittedly awful hoax, said through her lawyer that her undying lasting shame already feels like a life sentence. Well, now you have a felony conviction, and you're serving 18 months. So yeah, Sherri Papini, 39, who was heading for divorce, pleaded guilty in April to making false statements and mail fraud in connection with her disappearance. Her attorney said in a sentencing memo that she should be sentenced to a term of no more than 8 months with 1 month in custody and 7 months for home detention. The judge was not buying that recommendation. It's like, no, I don't think so. In part of the argument, they suggested the client had already been punished plenty in the court of public opinion for her year-long lie. Oh yeah, that's how criminal justice works. If you're sufficiently punished in the court of public opinion, then we don't have to actually punish you by sentencing you to prison. Is that how that works? Oh, I've already had my reputation hurt. Why? Because the awful things I did. Oh, okay. All right. Miss Papini maintained the lie for years, terrified she'd actually destroyed the one thing in her life that brought her true love and happiness, her family. Desperately praying that the day of discovery would never come. Once discovered, she lied again until there was nowhere else to go but admit to the truth, the defense wrote. That is not exactly the most encouraging defense argument I've ever wrote in my life. She's a liar who lies. When caught, she lied. She lied until she could lie no more. She did her best, but eventually the lie came down. But she tried. Okay, I don't know that's necessarily the best defense argument I've ever heard. That day of reckoning has arrived, and anyone who cares to read about it knows the deepest, darkest depths of her sick mind. The most shameful part of it is now it's a matter of public discourse, and she sees that knowledge every day in the eyes of people that she encounters, who think maybe she's a liar who lies, who would, try to fake her own kidnapping as part of a divorce strategy. The real pain is knowing the hurt she's caused so many people, and she must spend the rest of her life trying to repair the damage she's done. Following the guilty plea, the feds signaled they'd recommend a low sentence. On Wednesday, they recommended a sentence in line with the defense. 8 months in prison with 3 years of supervised release. So the feds, for whatever reason, were feeling compassionate too. The defense said, how about 8 months with 7 months release? The feds said, how about 8 months with 3 years release? The federal judge is like, nah, I don't like any of those numbers. How about 18 months with release? That's one of the things is like, yeah, the judge doesn't have to pick either number. He doesn't have to meet you somewhere in the middle. It's one of the things the judges get to do with sentence. It's like, well, I'm not sure how you guys came up with 8 months. How about 18? Because I'm the judge. Yeah. The prosecutors made a point to show how far the lies went in the hoax. On August 13th of 2020, after law enforcement had evidence showing Papini had not been kidnapped, a special agent of the FBI and detective of the sheriff's office met with Papini. At the outset of the interview, they were warned it's a crime to lie to federal agents. Now, this is something that the federal government does because they want to make sure that you're aware that you're knowingly lying, because the statute, 18 U.S.C. 1001, which makes it a crime to lie to the federal officials, right? It has to be knowingly, intentionally. And so one of the things the feds will do to make sure that you are doing it knowingly and intentionally is they will tell you. They will read you, right? So it's like, basically, I'm telling you that lying to a federal official is a federal offense. And anything you say after this could be used in that way. So do you still want to lie to me? If the FBI ever say this to you, you should shut up. Although you should have shut up long ago, to be honest, because you shouldn't be answering any questions from the FBI, because when they come to you and say, can you ask a few questions? What you should say is, I don't want to talk about my day, officer. But this is kind of like a Miranda warning. If you've gotten this far, you're already effed up. It's time to stop talking. Does she stop talking? Nope. She was also told about DNA and telephone evidence showing she had been with her ex-boyfriend. So not only was she told it's a crime to lie to the FBI, 18 U.S.C. 1001, but she was told, we think you're lying because we have DNA and telephone evidence that shows you were with your ex-boyfriend. They told her this. Yet even after this warning and evidence, she continued to lie. This is how they show a knowing lie. This is how they make their case. They've warned you. Now they tell you why they think you're lying. And now you're going to lie anyway. This is how they do it. She not only made false statements to law enforcement, of course, but her friends, family, and therapist, but also made false statements to the California Victims Compensation Board and the Social Security Administration in order to receive benefits, which would be fraud, hence the mail fraud thing. According to the original criminal complaint, Papini's husband used a cell phone tracking system to locate his missing wife's phone and earbuds. She left her phones and earbuds just on the street for him to find as part of facilitating the kidnapping. Now, why they'd be left behind in just a nice little pile, who knows, but that's what she went with. Weeks later, Papini emerged after the kidnapping that never happened, weighing 87 pounds and claiming 2 Hispanic women had abducted her at gunpoint, and her ex-boyfriend was involved. The ex-boyfriend told investigators that Papini stayed with him at the house during the dates of the disappearance, and was Papini who reached out to him and asked to come over to pick him up. DNA evidence recovered from the clothing she was wearing when she returned matched the ex-boyfriend's DNA. So the ex-boyfriend says, it wasn't that she was kidnapped, she was at my house, and she wanted to be there, and she asked me to do that, and we found his DNA on your clothing. So you sure about those 2 Hispanic women, Miss Papini? Yeah. Phone records show Papini and the ex-boyfriend were talking to each other as early as December of 2015. She wanted to cheat and escape with her ex-boyfriend, who I guess just dodged the biggest bullet ever. And rather than just do that, she faked a whole kidnapping thing. The ex-boyfriend had told investigators that they used prepaid phones to talk to each other. And this was corroborated through 2 prepaid cell phones that were tied to the ex-boyfriend and communicated with each other. One for Papini's location, other from the ex-boyfriend. So it's we used throwaway cell phones, but we didn't, throw them away as much. We could still correlate the phone records. Yeah. The FBI went so far as part of the investigation into the fake kidnapping thing as to employ a sketch artist to draw up composite images of the non-existent attackers. So they asked Papini to describe the attackers, and apparently these were the 2 attackers that attacked her, but of course they don't exist. So Papini is just using her very rich imagination as part of this whole, I want to cheat on someone with my ex-boyfriend, fake kidnapping plot as part of a divorce. Thus, that brings us to the end of the case of Sherri Papini, who today was sentenced to 18 months, which was more than either the defense or the prosecutors wanted, because the judge is not bound by the sentencing recommendation of either the prosecutor or the judge or the defense, right? Even if they agree. It's not bound by it. It's one of the things judges get to do is have sentencing discretion. And it's how about 18 for this incredibly rich murder, fake kidnapping, fake whatever plot that you put together, and cost resources and time, and we need to send a message. So Miss Papini has been sentenced to 18 years. She is a felon. And that, for the moment, brings to the end discussion of this story.